One is a 90-minute commercial that places Michael Jordan on a king-sized pedestal. The other is a Warner Brothers IP orgy that places LeBron James on a king-sized pedestal. Space Jam, They Remade It.
Hi, and welcome back to another episode of They Remade It. I'm your host, Stuart.
And I'm your host, Jacob.
And we have returned into our, was this our fourth or fifth season? I have completely lost track.
2018, so to 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. So season 4, I guess.
Yeah, season 4. And if we're wrong, well, nothing is real.
Fuck it.
Fuck it.
Who cares?
This world is in some weird straits right now, and here we are talking about movies.
Truly productive.
Yeah. How's it going over in the Ukraine? You guys good?
Ooh,
I
hope so.
I really hope by the time this releases, this doesn't become horribly dated. Well, besides watching the potential death of the modern era of peace, for whatever that's worth. What else have you been watching in this horrible segue?
Oh, that was a good one. That's good. Good transitions to start off the year. I have watched a shit ton of stuff since last time. I pulled up my Letterboxd account, all the trophies on Letterboxd, just so I could have a reference point, and I've watched 23 movies since the last episode we did. Maybe four of those were the last couple days of last year, and then everything else has been this January. And that's amongst like shows and a couple games and stuff, because it's very slow at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, this is kind of like catch-up times for a lot of movies where they're like, we're past the awards season territory. Now we can release this thing we're kind of iffy about.
Yeah, don't expect me to be coming to the table with 23 movies every single episode we do.
Yeah.
It was a month and I had time.
Yeah. Because why not?
But yeah, I narrowed that down to 3 select titles. The first of those, now that I did my Disney experiment back in 2020, I want to stay caught up with those movies so that I don't feel like I'm behind on the trend again. So I did watch Encanto. It's all right. It's better than a lot of the previous movies that they've been putting out. They've had really lackluster releases these past couple years, which we have talked about on the show.
Yeah.
Ad nauseum.
Yeah, like we could fill several really terrible books with how much we are just kind of like, Disney, they don't care anymore.
They're doing what they do. But I mean, this is all right. And maybe I'm being too unkind with the saying it's just all right. I think most of that comes from the fact that a lot of people are hyping up the soundtrack, and there's like there's 2 good songs in that movie, and everything else is just really bland. It's like, yeah, this is the same I Want song that has been in every single Disney movie since The Little Mermaid. So whatever. But I mean, the story is cool. Get some of that generational trauma in there.
Oh yeah.
Always a good storytelling device. And the thing that I really like is that the movie only has one setting throughout the entire course of it. Because I mean, you've seen the trailer. The entire thing is around this house. It's magical. It's got cool rooms. So the entire time, it's just this one place. And it's not even like you go into a room and suddenly you're in the Sahara Desert or some far off location or whatever. It's just like they don't need to go anywhere. So, and I really kind of like that. It feels confined and constricted, which actually plays into a lot of the conflict and anxiety that comes up in Act 2. So I don't know, that part's cool.
It doesn't feel the need to have to
Uh,
constantly throw us all over the place.
no, it doesn't. In fact, there's one part in the movie where it's like, don't go into that tower. So she goes into the tower, and I'm like, oh, this is a cool location. Where's it going to take us? And it's a cool thing. It's cool to look at, but she's only in there for like 5 minutes, and then she leaves. I'm like, oh, okay. So we're doing this. And at the time, because that was like near the end of Act 1, I was like, that was kind of bland. But I don't know. It fits well. I think the movie does that well, and it has a nice story. I just think people are overhyping the soundtrack. It's not as good as everyone is saying it is, even though I do like those two songs they are the best songs in the movie, but everything else is boring. And just
I still haven't seen it, and the one song that everyone has talked about is I've decided finally, okay, fine, I'll listen to it. It has been consistently stuck in my head since.
I probably know what it is, but yeah, it's good. And the other thing, I won't harp on it, but it because we've talked about it before, especially around the time Soul was coming out. I Disney just they don't do stylized movies, and Encanto's bland in the looks department. I mean, in it, if you take it as like an animated craft, it's fine, and the colors are nice, but everyone just looks like a wax mannequin, and that's the style that Disney and Disney Pixar have been going for years. I remember when I watched Soul, and I brought it up on the podcast, and I was like, it's just a really boring looking movie, except for these line creatures that they make, like the angels in the afterlife or whatever, are just made of lines that zip everywhere. And I'm like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Like, do stylized shit. And I mean, I've been wanting stuff like that for a while now, but especially now that we've gotten, Spider-Verse and Mitchell's versus the Machines, helmed by Lord and Miller, the Clone High guys.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, look, those are 3D movies that are artistically satisfying. Why can't we do that? But
I like the sad part about it that I had seen that got brought up by one of the animators or one of the, I guess, one of the main folks behind Encanto was that they had apparently, there's the one woman in there who's this super strong woman who's got like very buff and very muscular and everything. Apparently, just according to them,
she has the other good song in the movie.
Yeah. But according to some of the production folks, apparently it was a struggle to even get Disney to allow this character to have visible muscles as a woman. That's the kind of shit we're talking about where it's Disney upper management that are pretty much shoehorning this consistently bland style. The animators want to be doing different shit. They want to be doing shit that's cool. It's Disney and they suck.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Can we sell binders and trapper keepers with this character on it? I don't know.
Yeah, and I've talked this shit to death already, and I don't need to beat this drum anymore. And I think the benefit of more and more movies like this coming out that are allowed to A, do stuff in other cultures, and B, even have that much leeway with non-standard character design, it means that there's at least getting some progress towards it, and that people are kind of taking notice to oh, hey, here's a movie that isn't the standard Disney kind of, workshop bullshit, and we all absolutely adore it. Let's keep doing that. Why aren't we getting more of that?
Yeah.
And so I think the tide is slowly turning, but if the movie industry has shown me anything, is that they are very quick to immediately swing back whenever people get either bored or get kind of hoisted by their own petard at some point, or someone gets canceled, and then everyone's just okay, cool, we can go back to the boring shit.
It's funny that if you discount indie produced movies and shorts or whatever, if you're looking at big companies, the only company that I think is consistently putting out animated movies that at least look nice is Sony.
Yeah.
And Leica, but Leica, you know how that process goes. It takes an eternity.
Yeah. God bless them.
But yeah.
Yeah,
they love what they do.
That is a weird situation that Sony's the ones behind that helm. But at the same time, I got a lot of respect for Sony, despite them very much getting the shaft lately when it comes to all this sort of tech news.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. But I mean, keeping it with movies, I'm not going to talk about it in depth, but I watched that new Hotel Transylvania 4, the fucking fourth one,
Yeah.
and I was worried about how that one was going to look because Gendy Tartakovsky's not directing them anymore.
Mm.
But it still has his style. Maybe he was overseeing, or maybe they just, people respond well to this animation style and how fluid it is. It's still really fluid.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't speak much for the writing talent involved with the voice acting of the movies, but it still looks really well. So I'm like, good on you guys, I guess.
Sick. Just keep running those ones through. God, I don't know whether I just haven't been keeping up with movie news as much anymore, or just like a lot of movies lately have just straight up not gotten nearly as much hype or as much like advertising as they deserve. Cause like I didn't know about the Hotel Transylvania thing until you brought it up to me. And then stuff like the Hamlet production with Denzel was it Denzel? No, not Denzel Washington. I'm sorry.
I don't even know what you're talking about. This is the first I'm hearing of a new Hamlet.
Yeah, there's sorry, not Hamlet, Macbeth.
Oh yeah, the Cohen Macbeth.
Yeah, the Cohen Macbeth that came out recently. Like, I still really, really want to see that one, but again, like that one barely got any stuff beyond like a couple trailers, which like it's an A14 movie, so like that makes sense. But
yeah,
still,
it's on Apple TV Plus.
Oh God. I'm okay. I'm gonna let you continue on with this, but I'm officially up to my fucking eyeballs with all the different like subscription cable services things now, because I had to fucking get the free trial for HBO Max to watch one of the movies tonight. That like I couldn't find it anywhere else without buying it.
Really?
I could not figure it out.
You should have told me. I would have let you use my HBO Max subscription. I had no idea.
I mean, it's fine. Like I did the week free trial thing, and I'm just gonna cancel it immediately because like I think my family has one, but they haven't shared the info with me yet. I was desperately trying to find it because I wanted to go and get it done with, and I was like, God, why the fuck is this why is this of all movies only available here? And why otherwise I had to buy it? Like, God, okay, but yeah, that's it. I've talked ad nauseum about it before. Continue forward.
All right. So I spent a lot of time on Encanto and a little tangent that we had. So I won't talk at length about the other two movies. I saw them both I didn't see Encanto in theaters. I saw it on my phone.
Sorry, David Lynch.
Yeah. Not David. I mean, yeah, David Lynch. But Martin Scorsese. He'd fucking hate me. That's who I was thinking of. But the other two I did see in the theaters both this year. I saw the 355. Which is like 5 women from different spy organizations through various means end up coming together to solve some crime.
Oh, yeah. I saw the trailer for that.
Or obtain a device.
I saw the trailer for that. It looked like the most generic shit I've ever seen.
The character interactions are really neat. I bought into the relationships, specifically between Jessica Chastain and Penelope Cruz's characters. So that part was nice, but overall it is the most generic fucking spy movie I have ever seen. It hits all the tropes. You can predict everything right out of the gate. It's
Do they have a list of Do they have a list of undercover agents that has fallen into enemy hands?
No, not quite like that, but I mean the plot still is fairly generic. There's like 5 different plot tropes I think you could go for, and if you exhausted them, you'd probably hit it.
Yeah, I know. But, I've seen them all at this point.
Yeah. So that's that movie. It was like blasé, but I like the performances of the main 5. And the last thing I saw Scream 5 or 5 Cream or just the new Scream, whatever you want to call it. Scream. The artistic titles. But that was okay too. So the thing about the Scream franchise is that if you've seen any of them, the entire point is to dress down horror tropes because it's supposed to be for a new generation that has grown up with these horror movies and can sort of understand the do's and don'ts of being in a horror movie.
Yeah.
so you kind of know what you're getting into when you get into the movie, but it's not as bad as something like No Way Home or Free Guy or one of the movies we're talking about today. But but it is very reliant on you not just having the knowledge of the previous entries in the franchise, but bringing back as many characters from the first three and even four that came out in 2011 as possible, having little nods, making sure everything ties together to sort of give characters finality, sort of endings. And I guess it works a bit better in a sense like this because it's not just pulling together a bunch of different properties. It's all self-contained.
Mm-hmm.
But the the ecosystem that we exist in now with movies makes it kind of hard to look past, and it can get kind of grating at times. Yeah. And besides that, the killer is also very predictable. The end.
Cool. That's fair enough.
Oh, so that was my big spiel about three movies.
That's fine.
But what have you been watching?
Well, mainly TV shows. I did watch at least one movie, to my memory currently. Hannah and I have continued to be watching the Disney Plus Marvel TV shows because I think I mentioned it before, but so far I like them. I think they're fine. Most recently, as far as movies go for that, just for setup of it, we watched the Marvel Black Widow movie. It was okay. It definitely had one of the lower budgets of any of the Marvel films, and the villain was stupid, underdeveloped, and the guy playing the main villain is very clearly a very Cockney British actor attempting to put on a Russian accent, which I gotta say, I can't imagine how much they're kicking themselves like at the studio for like having Black Widow be canonically supposed to be this Russian agent that was the whole thing meant to be like a result of the Cold War and everything, but the entirety of her setup and everything is meant to take place during the 90s, and all of her shit, it's very clearly like she's interacting with like Cold War era shit. So like the main villain is clearly an Cold War Soviet like spy master sort of deal. But again, like the Soviet Union has already collapsed at this point, so all this makes no fucking sense. And so they're desperately just like, man, we have all this cool content, but it doesn't line up properly. Fuck it. And it introduces a lot of random like next level technology and next level shit that will never get brought up again. Like, without wishing to spoil too much, the main villain's hideout is straight up just a sky fortress, just like casually. It's just like, oh, that's just here now, and that just exists all over. And apparently, he runs the world already, but but he doesn't though, because like it hasn't affected shit leading up to anything, and hasn't affected any of the results of the previous movies. So now he's just kind of gone, and so we're just meant to believe what he said. I don't know. It's a mess, but I think the action sequences are decent. I think the main actors, other than Scarlett Johansson, are good. I think Scarlett Johansson is once again a fucking piece of cardboard. And I do like the new person they have that's going to be ostensibly playing the new Black Widow. It's meant to be Black Widow's like sister. And like she herself has the same kind of like training and shit. So okay movie. Leading into that was the Hawkeye TV show, which actually had the character, like the new Black Widow character, show up in. I thought was fantastic. I thought it was really funny. I thought it clearly shows how much leeway a lot of these directors and everything are allowed to have when they're able to do smaller form stuff like TV shows. Because for years, everyone was talking about like the fact that the character of Hawkeye is meant to be canonically at least hard of hearing. He has a hearing aid, and they were able to do that for the show. And so there's a lot of moments of like, there's a character, main like kind of secondary villain character who's deaf, and who like the idea of like signing and everything is a whole big thing. And so it's able to touch on like other cool subjects, and it has a lot of like very distinct, unexpected twists and turns, but it's also like fun and action packed, and they actually make some good shit with Jeremy Renner. So I think it's their best Marvel show so far. I can't wait to see how they fuck it
Oh.
up for later writers. Um,
Maybe I'll have to. Maybe that'll be the first Disney Plus Marvel
I think it's
miniseries I actually watch. Because not just you, but a Discord group I'm in. Someone told me that was their
oh yeah,
favorite one so far too. So
and also it directly references the Netflix Daredevil TV show, which I thought was fucking brilliant, and I'm still
hmm,
sad that it ultimately got canceled because of the Disney Plus change. Um, but you know, it has direct connections with that, so that's fun.
that's
Um,
nice.
Beyond that, I watched the first season of Umbrella Academy, um, which I think I had brought up at least briefly before, but I fully watched it. I really like it. I think it's like the whole point of it. It's a very different style of like quote unquote superhero kind of story. Um, very kind of like off, not necessarily off the beaten path, but definitely like kind of off culture type stuff going on with it. And I started watching the second season and immediately wanted to stop because the second season appears to just be a basically just like a rehash of the setup of the first season, where the whole thing is like, I guess mild spoiler alert, but it was in the fucking trailer. The whole point of it being in the first season, one guy accidentally teleports into the future and is finally able to teleport back to tell them that the world is about to end in a week, and they have to figure out like what's going to happen and stop it. And then in the next one, after all this crazy shit has gone down, he ends up having briefly gone to the future and has to go back and tell them that the world is about to end in 10 days. Um,
Hmm.
so it's like, well, it's a different scenario and it's a whole like kind of mixes up a little bit with a few of the major elements. But like it's one of those moments of, well, it feels like this whole scenario is just kind of pointless. Because it's like
We just did
we just
this.
did this and it meant nothing. And so I don't really feel any motivation to continue. Um, so that's probably where I'm going to leave it for now. If I get really bored and I decide maybe I'll go back to it, but otherwise I might just look up a plot synopsis. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah,
keep the good memories alive.
yeah. The first season was stellar. Second season, I have no fucking clue. Um, but finally, last thing I have been most recently watching, and I'm still finishing up. Just kind of came out of nowhere. I was deciding I was going to look through Netflix, see if anything had popped up and that was new, and a new series had popped up. It's called Archive 81. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it is a
No.
thriller style TV series centered around this guy who's a film restorer who his whole job he like restores old like found film and that sort of thing.
Hmm.
And the whole premise of it is he's enlisted to restore this set of tapes from this woman who was apparently in a building like this like building fire back in 95, and how it kind of progresses of like how he's able to like it starts off pretty, you know, obviously normal, but then progresses into the point of, oh, he has a direct connection with this woman, and oh, there's a cult, oh, what all the shit is going on, is this guy going insane, and this whole thing. It's very Magnus Archives. um and I honestly think you'd really like it as well, because like it's one of the few ones I've watched in a while where I genuinely, there are moments on screen where it does horror moments and it does like kind of frightening, disconcerting, like discomforting moments very, very well. Of where like it does a whole thing where like the shot style is very makes it the situation feel very tense. It makes it kind of get into the mind of the character. But then there's also a lot of those moments where in any other horror movie this would be like, oh, a jump scare accompanied with a sting. But no, they'll just like have a moment where there's just something distinctly creepy and off-putting behind the character in the shot that the character never acknowledges. It's just like all of a sudden it's there and only the viewers can see it. And so I'm just like, what the fuck? It's like,
I love dumb shit or creepy dumb. I love creepy shit like that. I think I brought that up specifically with Hereditary when I watched that. Those were some of my favorite moments in the movie.
yeah.
It's like, yeah, you see something, it's just there, and then it goes away.
Yeah.
What was that?
I think like I'm coming up to the end of the series now. I don't know whether there is a season 2 or if there ever will be. It might just be like the single season kind of thing. Um
Mhm.
but I'm hoping it's able to kind of hold on to it, cuz like there's been a few telltale signs of it being like, it seems like they're going to take a couple cop out moves of like, oh, the horror was some like really generic thing all along, where I'm just like, damn it. But I'm thinking, but that's another part of it. They distinctly fuck with your expectations with that, where there's a lot of moments where you're like, oh, this is going into this like horror trope of like, oh, this guy's locked here alone. Then it immediately goes, nope, he can leave anytime. He can go kind of walk about and then he can come home. It's like, oh, okay, well, maybe there's this whole thing of like, he's starting to lose his mind. It's like, oh, no, he directly acknowledges it and his friend is super supportive of it and they're trying to work it out together. It's like, oh, okay. And so like every time they introduce a thing where it's like, it feels like it's the obvious thing that's going to be like the obvious twist of like, oh, everything's out to get him. They immediately go, yes, everything is out to get him. And that's not the worst part. It's like, oh, shit. And so it's kind of brilliant with how it does it. Like every time it knows what it's doing. Like it knows deliberately that, yeah, we're in a horror scenario right now. We're going to acknowledge the things that you are immediately thinking of. And then we're just going to fuck with you. So I have adored it so far.
I'll have to pin that too. I've been really slacking on TV in general lately because as we've discussed, my movie habits have slowly gone down to like, if this thing is any longer than an hour and a half, you can go fuck yourself. And so if it's serialized TV, sometimes I'm like, oh, it's still going. So yeah. I can't just binge TV anymore. I have to like an episode a day. Every 2 days.
This is a very good episode a day. Because it does leave you with enough want to come back to for the next one.
Well, maybe I will watch that before the next episode then. It sounds interesting.
It's like I said, Archive 81. I think it's still like on the top like watched lists right now on Netflix because I think it's definitely one of those like kind of quick fire in the pan kind of things where everyone's like, "Whoa, cool." And it deserves it.
Good.
But I think that about does it for me as we've gotten into the half-hour point of our recording, at least.
Yeah, there will be some trimming, I'm sure. But, yeah.
But to be fair, the movies that we're going into, I don't think there's going to be nearly as much in-depth analysis as even our fucking what we watched list.
Oh, yeah, we will see.
Because it's a Space Jam.
Will see. It's the Space Jam. You love that soundtrack. I'm sure.
I don't.
You've already heard one Space Jam song, and you guys will be hearing another going into the synopsis. The dirt road forest ran about his ankle brace. Was getting chased down blocks for a bunch of reasons. If you was learning how to fly, then it was hunting season. And if you learning how to try, then it was trying to cheat him. My mama seen it, said, boy, you better. You ain't gotta knock him out, but boy, you gotta beat him. You better look at every shot like it's your shot at freedom. Now fast forward, the kid is the king. Championship so big, the box fit in the ring. They make him fantasize matchups. Who could in his prime? I could shoot from the logo with my foot on the line. That mean my shoes too big to fill. Future on free bands, my presence on the court like my past keep replaying. My wingspan longer than the message at the bottom of C-SPAN. Just a kid who put heat fans in Cleveland for real. From out under me, if you wanna see me fly. Look in the sky, I'm where the clouds at. The air up here is so clear, we clearly on. Okay, so starting this off, something that I'm sure we'll at least touch on when we start doing the analysis is Warner Brothers is really finicky with the voice talent that they hire for these classic characters in some cases and not so classic characters in other cases. So before each of the synopses, I'm going to run through all the voice cast so that I'm not interrupting the flow of the synopsis. And then during the actual plot synopsis, the live action actors I'll be sure to include. Okay, starting off will be Space Jam from 1996, directed by Joe Pytka and written by Leo Benvenuti, Steve Rudnick, Timothy Harris, and Herschel Weingrod. The cast, before we get into that, or the Looney Tunes cast, before we get into that, Billy West voices Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd. D. Bradley Baker voices Daffy Duck, the Tasmanian Devil, and the Bull. Bob Bergen voices Birdie, Hubie, Marvin the Martian, Tweety, and Porky Pig. Bill Farmer is Sylvester, Yosemite Sam, and Foghorn Leghorn. Kath Soucie is Lola Bunny. June Foray is Granny. And Maurice LaMarche is Pepe Le Pew. In 1973, a 10-year-old Michael Jordan tells his father, James, about his dreams of playing in the NBA. 20 years later, following his father's death, Jordan announces his retirement from basketball and pursues a career in baseball. Meanwhile, in outer space, the amusement park Moron Mountain is in decline. Mr. Swackhammer, the park's proprietor, who is voiced by Danny DeVito, learns of the Looney Tunes from his minions, the Nerdlucks, and tasks them with abducting them as attractions. Upon their arrival beneath Earth's surface, the Nerdlucks take the Looney Tunes hostage, but Bugs Bunny persuades them into allowing them to defend themselves. Noting the Nerdlucks' small stature, the Looney Tunes challenge them to a basketball game despite their inexperience. After learning more of basketball, the Nerdlucks infiltrate various games, usurping the talents of Charles Barkley, Sean Bradley, Patrick Ewing, Larry Johnson, and Muggsy Bogues, who all play themselves. The Nerdlucks use these talents to transform into large and muscular creatures whom Sylvester refers to as monstars, and then the easily intimidated Looney Tunes realize they need professional help. While golfing with Bill Murray, Larry Bird, and his assistant Stan Podolak, played by Wayne Knight, the Looney Tunes take Jordan into their universe through a golf hole. Bugs explains their situation to Jordan, who is initially reluctant to help. However, Jordan agrees after a confrontation with the Monstars and forms the Toon Squad with the Looney Tunes. They are joined by Lola Bunny, with whom Bugs becomes enamored. Initially unprepared, Jordan sends Bugs and Daffy Duck back to his house to obtain his basketball gear. Jordan's children aid them and agree to keep the game a secret. Stan notices the pair, follows them back to their world, and joins the team. Meanwhile, the incapacity of the 5 NBA players results in national panic that culminates in the season's suspension. The players try to restore their skills through various methods, but all to no avail. The game between the Toon Squad and the Monstars eventually commences, with Swackhammer arriving to witness it. The Monstars easily dominate the first half, sinking the Toon Squad's morale. During halftime, Stan sneaks into the Monstars' locker room, learns how they obtain their talent, and informs the Toon Squad. Using a unique plan, Bugs and Jordan rally the Toon Squad, who improve in the second half with cartoon physics. During a timeout, Jordan raises the stakes with Swackhammer because he can't help but bet on things. That if the Toon Squad wins, the Monstars must relinquish their stolen talent. If the Monstars win, Jordan will become a new Moron Mountain attraction. On Swackhammer's orders, the Monstars become increasingly aggressive, incapacitating most of the Toon Squad. With 10 seconds left in the game, the Toon Squad are down by 1 point and 1 player, with only Jordan, Bugs, Lola, and Daffy still able to play. Bill Murray unexpectedly arrives and joins the team. And in the final seconds, Jordan gains the ball with Murray's help, but is pulled back by the Monstars. On Bugs' advice, Jordan uses cartoon physics to extend his arm and achieve a slam dunk, winning the match with a buzzer beater. After Swackhammer scolds the Monstars, Jordan helps them realize that they only served him because they were once smaller. They encase Swackhammer inside a missile and send him to the moon. After relinquishing their talent, the Nerdlucks join the Looney Tunes and return Jordan to Earth in their fucking spaceship. Jordan later returns the talent to the incapacitated players, whose remarks convince Jordan to return to the NBA and resume his basketball career. Now we'll move on to Space Jam: A New Legacy, which came out in 2021 and was directed by Malcolm D. Lee and was written by Jewel Taylor, Tony Rettenmeyer, Keenan Kugler, and Terrence Nance. The voice cast for this project includes Eric Bauza as Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, Foghorn Leghorn, and Elmer Fudd, Bob Bergen as Tweety Bird, Zendaya as Lola Bunny, Fred Tatasciore as Taz, Jeff Bergman as Bugs Bunny, Sylvester, Yosemite Sam, and Fred Flintstone, I guess, Candy Milo as Granny, and Gabriel Iglesias as Speedy Gonzalez. In 1998, a young LeBron James is dropped off at a youth league basketball game by his mother. His friend Malik gives him a Game Boy, which LeBron plays with until Coach C demands him to concentrate on his skills. After he misses a potential buzzer beater and is reprimanded by Coach C, LeBron decides to follow his advice and discards the Game Boy. In the present day, LeBron encourages his sons, Darius and Dominic, played by Sierra J. Wright and Cedric Joe, respectively, to pursue basketball careers. While LeBron's attempts with Darius are successful, Dom aspires to become a video game developer. LeBron, Malik, and Dom are later invited to Warner Brothers Studios to discuss a film deal. LeBron rejects the idea while Dom is interested in the studio's Warner 3000 software, particularly its AI, Algae Rhythm, played by Don Cheadle. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
I've never said that out loud. It's so stupid.
Oh, God. This shit sucks.
Their differing views lead to an argument as Dom reveals his hatred towards LeBron's aspirations. Having become self-aware and desiring more recognition in the world, Algae lures LeBron and Dom to the basement server room and traps them in the Warner Brothers serververse. Taking Dom hostage, Al G orders LeBron to form a basketball team to compete against his own, only earning his freedom if he wins, before sending him to Toon World. LeBron finds Toon World abandoned except for Bugs Bunny, who explains that Al G persuaded the other Looney Tunes to leave their world and explore the serververse. Using Marvin the Martian's spacecraft, the two travel to various worlds to locate and recruit the other Looney Tunes to form the Toon Squad. Meanwhile, Al G manipulates Dom into allowing his help in upgrading himself in his game, which Al G intends to use against LeBron. This is just the plot of Hook. In Toon World, despite Bugs' objections, LeBron insists on teaching the Toon Squad the fundamentals of basketball rather than using their cartoon physics. They encounter Al G's team, the Goon Squad, composed of avatars of basketball players and led by Dom. Al G upgrades the Looney Tunes to CGI, reverts the animated LeBron to his live-action form, live streams the game, and abducts several viewers, including LeBron's family, into the serververse, while various inhabitants arrive as spectators. Al G threatens to delete the Looney Tunes and imprison the real-world spectators permanently if the Goon Squad wins. The Goon Squad easily lead the first half, using their powers to score extra points. LeBron soon realizes his error and allows the Looney Tunes to use their cartoon physics to improve during the second half. During a timeout, LeBron apologizes to his son Dom for not respecting his desires. Dom forgives LeBron and joins the Toon Squad. Al G then assumes control of the game and uses his abilities to substantially strengthen himself and the Goon Squad. Recalling a glitch that was presented in Dom's game earlier in the movie, wherein a character is deleted and the game crashes after a specific move is performed, LeBron volunteers to perform the move, but Bugs does so at the last moment, sacrificing himself in the process. LeBron scores the winning point with Dom's help, deleting Al G and the Goon Squad. The Looney Tunes and the serververse are restored, and LeBron, his family, and the other real-world spectators are returned to their world as Bugs reconciles with his friends before being deleted. 1 week later, LeBron, understanding Dom's wishes, allows him to attend the E3 game design camp. He subsequently reunites with Bugs, who reveals that his cartoon physics allow him to regenerate and that his friends have also entered the real world. LeBron, having accepted the Looney Tunes as his extended family, allows them to temporarily move in with him.
Fuck it, really.
Yeah. Sorry if I sounded a little extra mad at the end.
No, that's fine.
Again, I haven't really read a lot of this out loud.
And just reminding yourself of it, it's like, oh god, that is what happened.
But yeah, that's it.
Yes, sadly, and also thank God.
Yes. that's all she wrote, as they say. Oh fuck me! I got to do full circle. So, starting off, Bill Farmer, we have covered a number of times up to this point. He was Sylvester, Yosemite Sam, and Foghorn Leghorn in Space Jam 1996. He did additional voices in 91's Beauty and the Beast. He was uncredited as a Muppet performer in The Muppet Christmas Carol in 92, and he was the news reporter Justin Ballard Watkins in 87's RoboCop. Bill Murray plays himself in Space Jam 96. He played Arthur Denton in 86's Little Shop of Horrors 10 years earlier. And he was Dr. Peter Venkman in 84's Ghostbusters and Martin Heiss in 2016's Ghostbusters. Bob Bergen showed up in Space Jam 96 as Birdie, Hubie, Marvin the Martian, Tweety, and Porky Pig, and he also did additional voices in 1990's Total Recall. Kath Soucie played Lola Bunny in 96's Space Jam, and she voiced Bim Bett in 1991's Beauty and the Beast. Wayne Knight played Stan Podolak in 96's Space Jam, and he was Zach Malotzi in 2001's Rat Race, the man transporting the heart, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Don Cheadle plays Algae Rhythm in Space Jam: A New Legacy, and he plays Bashir Tar in 2001's Ocean's 11. Sarah Silverman is one of the Warner Brothers executives in Space Jam: A New Legacy, and she played Carolyn in 1999's The Bachelor with Chris O'Donnell. Remember that? And a greeter in 2011's The Muppets.
I barely remember that.
It's a very forgetful one. Wood Harris plays Coach C in Space Jam: A New Legacy, Kay in 2012's Dread, and Nandez in 2017's Blade Runner 2049.
Those are all characters.
Those are characters that exist in movies we've talked about.
Yes, they are.
And finally, the big one, Frank Welker is the voice of the voice of Michael Jordan's dog in Space Jam 96. He was Abu, the Cave of Wonders, and Raja in both 1992's Aladdin and 2019's Aladdin. He was the footstool in 1991, which just consisted of barks and growling. And he was both Pongo and Porty in 101 Dalmatians 1996. Which, again, barking, growling, whatever. The man just does growls and barks. He's the animal man.
Kind of makes you wonder about his home life.
He does Freddy in Scooby-Doo, and then he does animals in everything, ever.
I mean, it's good to have a consistent career.
He is one of the richest men in Hollywood, no joke, because he gets cast in every. He gets roles in this is confirmed in National Geographic documentaries to dub over animals if they didn't get the noises picked up well enough.
What the fuck?
People confirm that sometimes he shows up to jobs, and when it's not his turn to speak, he just flips through jet magazines or like little plane magazines to be like, am I gonna buy this plane? I'm not even kidding. So
there are days where I'm just like, you know what, I like what I have. I don't have any particular wants or really any major needs. But there are other days where I'm like, I would kill for even a fraction of that. Like
Frank Welker barks into a microphone and he gets $80,000.
I just want to strangle something. Like, God, these movies make me want to strangle something on their own way, but still.
Yeah, please talk about something loony
yes.
while I gather myself.
Well, I'll kind of go into it kind of pretty headfirst with it. This time around, I once again did the kind of opposite around approach. I went ahead and watched the sequel, New Legacy, first before the original. Not for any particular reason. I was just like, I was already thinking about watching it. We decided, you know what, I haven't seen this one yet. I'll go ahead and do that. So, going through it, it was, a bit of a slog at times. Just kind of those moments of like, man, I really didn't realize like how absurd this whole premise is of like mixing a real life basketball icon with Looney Tunes and trying to make it to be a plot that's like in any way feasible. I think it's admirable in a lot of aspects. I think they're kind of doing their best with what they've been given. I've got plenty of other issues besides that, but I think the concept on its own is just kind of this kind of flawed bag from the word go. So, that's just kind of disappointing. And, I'll need to keep that in mind kind of going into the original. And I watched the original. I was like, oh, this is pretty fucking hilarious. The second one just sucks. It's like, this one's honestly got way more credibility with its premise. Like, I kind of forgot about that it was like, oh, there's actually a reason. It's like, it's not a great reason, but it's a consistent and not absurd reason for Looney Tunes. And that kind of permeated all my thoughts going forward of like watching the original going like, okay, so here's all the things that they decided to do with it that made this actually work well. Good animation, and it's simple. That's literally all you needed. And the remake could not have fucked that up harder. Yeah, that's like my head first kind of dive into it, and that will kind of permeate everything I have to say about both of them. So I apologize for kind of coming out of the gate with a thicker opinion like that. But you know what? I could not have gone this entire time being even-handed about it. I am going to be bashing at least both of these, one of them more than the other.
All right, that's fair. I guess I have a bit more complicated feelings. Fair. In that I'm still not sure which one I prefer more. I dislike both of these immensely. It's strange because I only have a handful of problems with the new one, but they're huge problems. Whereas in the original movie, I have a shit ton of problems with everything that happens, but they're all like really small, and reflecting on them, they seem kind of nitpicky, which kind of puts me in a complicated position.
I'm in the exact opposite camp. I have a few bigger problems with the original that actually don't affect it that much, and I have a bunch of really nitpicky problems with the new one that makes it basically unwatchable.
All right, this is going to be interesting.
Ooh, complex
Maybe.
battle of the ages, baby.
So the first thing I want to talk about, which I just need to get it out of the way, I alluded to it before we went into the plot synopsis, and that's the matter of the voice talent.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand what the fuck is wrong with Warner Brothers and what they're thinking about when they do this shit. So Disney, whether you like or hate Disney, mostly hate.
Yeah.
They have this policy with their famous characters where they find a Mickey Mouse, they find a Goofy, they find a Donald. You are that character until you can no longer do it anymore. And there's something to be said for allowing other people to pursue specific jobs in voice acting. But from a relatability standpoint, I'm at a weird crossroads because I do think it's important to have a recognizable voice be associated with a character for that character to have some sort of long form reliability, if that makes any sense.
I fully get you.
Yeah, so, Goofy has been Bill Farmer for forever. Tony Anselmo trained Clarence Nash, who was an animator before he did voice work. He trained the other way around. Clarence Nash trained Tony Anselmo to take over the role of Donald Duck, and he's been doing Donald ever since. With Looney Tunes, Mel Blanc did all these voices he did all the core Looney Tunes except Elmer Fudd. Mel Blanc did not do Elmer Fudd until the original voice actor Arthur Bryant was too sick to do it. I'm sick of people saying Mel Blanc always did Elmer Fudd. That's not true. But Mel Blanc did all these characters. He died, and then Warner Brothers like, oh fuck, what are we gonna do now? And instead of finding reliable voices, from what I've heard, specifically from Bob Bergen, who has been Porky Pig since the 90s, every single time you go into a job for Warner Brothers, you have to re-audition. Even if you've done Porky Pig for 25 years, if you go in for the new Looney Tunes cartoon show, you have to audition for that role again. And I think that's insane. That does not make any sense to me. So with that, you get like 80 different people doing Bugs Bunny, and I have specific preferences on, who I like more. But it just leads to weird things like, okay, I've been rambling.
That's fine. I've rambled plenty myself.
I'll come out and say it. Space Jam: A New Legacy. Let me get my fucking paper. God. I'm so angry. I can't even control my thoughts. I alluded to this last year when I said that I watched the movie on the show.
Oh yeah, but I've been dying for your complex opinions about it since then. Because I heard you
did not go into late.
What little stuff you went into then was enough for me to be like, oh man, there's some ammo here.
Eric Bauza is a great voice actor. And he has done Marvin the Martian specifically, I think since the 90s. He has been the Marvin the Martian voice for the most part, when Warner Brothers doesn't have a hair up their ass. And I like his Marvin. He does Daffy in the new Space Jam, and it's serviceable. I actually like it more than D. Bradley Baker's in the original Space Jam. I don't like D. Bradley Baker's Daffy at all. But Eric Bauza does Porky Pig in Space Jam: A New Legacy. It is a terrible Porky. It is horrible.
Yeah, I was probably going to bring that up eventually of if not in general, at least with Porky of what the fuck was going on with these voices?
At this point, it's the Disney recognizability thing. Bob Bergen has been doing Porky Pig, even though he has to audition every single time. He's been doing Porky Pig since the early 90s. And people asked him on Twitter when this movie came out, why aren't you Porky? What happened? Why didn't you get Porky? Are you retiring from Porky? And he's like, I went in an audition. They didn't like my Porky. And that's all it is. No bad blood. But Bob Bergen is still in the movie as Tweety Bird, which is fine. I don't understand the decisions. Eric Bauza is fine, but that Porky is not good. And that transcends into other things where it's like Freddie Tadashore is apparently the new Taz. I can't listen to Taz when it's not Jim Cummings.
Yeah,
Like
no.
these characters are all over the fucking place.
And like, I feel like a lot of this might even just be kind of more damnings of Warner Brothers as a company in general. Cause like going throughout this whole movie, there's a lot of moments where they actually do have crossovers with other Warner Brothers owned properties,
Oh,
which
fuck me.
I will admit in a few of those scenes when they did it, I actually thought was pretty fun, kind of clever. I was like, oh, it's just like straight up just having a moment in Mad Max Fury Road. That's honestly kind of funny. And that's perfect for
That's
Wiley.
the
Um,
that's the one that I mentioned last year, and you said that you'd honestly like it. And upon rewatching it, there's not a lot of talking, and they aren't in there for very long. So I mean, it's in the desert, so I could definitely see why it works. I think the thing that unsettles me is Wile E. Coyote getting high off of the
yeah,
paint
doing like
from the movie. It's like
the
I
paint
get the
huffing,
reference. Wile E. Coyote should not be huffing paint,
and then
but
proceeding to do what in the movie is canonically committing ritual suicide. And it's like,
yes,
what the flying hell? Which, like, I know he's a toon, but still. Um,
yeah,
and
I think that's the only part I really don't like about that bit. But besides that, I mean, that part's fine.
and I will say, and just kind of to that end of like seeing all this stuff with like different Warner Brothers properties and everything, and just seeing all that, and then being reminded that, oh yeah, DC shit is a Warner Brothers thing, and then being reminded of the
Mhm.
absolute shit show that the DC extended universe is in right now, and I'm like, oh yeah, these folks suck at this. And so like Warner Brothers as a wider company like this, I'm honestly not surprised with how all this is kind of panned out with how they've their quality control. Um, I mean, Disney Magic exists for a reason, so I guess it's more kind of like the exception rather than the rule at this point. Um,
Mhm.
but also kind of following up with that, and without meaning to kind of go into more plot points versus like kind of more technicals of the movie, I
Mhm.
the one thing that I can't stop thinking about that I needed to ask about for New Legacy, what the fuck was the deal that Al? I'm gonna call him Don Cheadle. I refuse to call him the fucking.
I know
I
what you're about to bring
I'm
up. That's in my notes.
I'm just calling him Don Cheadle. What the fuck was the deal that Don Cheadle was giving the other tunes that like made them show up in like other Warner Brothers like I don't get what the fuck is happening there. Like,
Dude, no fucking kidding.
is
That's
this
one of
meant to be
3 points that I wrote in my notes. I
is this
don't get it.
is this like it's meant to be like the best I can imagine is that in this serververse is just like the hard coded data of like these are our copyrights of these characters and shit, and they coalesce in the forms of these like separate mini movie planet things, and that going there and visiting is basically just them going to a theme park and playing as these characters, and like them just kind of doing their thing of like, oh, we're just kind of going through these routines because it's what we do. And it's kind of like what the Looney Tunes have done in their whole world, in both the original movie and this one, where it's like, oh, we're in Looney Tunes world. We're just going to do Looney Tune things because that's just what we do. It's like our job essentially for no particular reason. That's the best I can think of, because otherwise what they're basically saying is that now there's like an addition of movies out there in this universe where um fucking Trinity from Matrix is played by Granny. And like
Yeah.
that's the happiest moment I've ever had thinking about this movie, of like, wow, I would pay actual money to see that, cuz like that's hilarious. Um, but otherwise I cannot for the life of me understand what is supposed to be going on with that whole deal.
My main problem is I don't understand why he does it. I don't
Yeah.
know why he gives the tunes these deals. It's not like, oh, these are the competition. Like, he doesn't give a fuck about the Looney Tunes. He doesn't know that he's going to have this basketball game going on. Why is he, like, shipping the Looney Tunes off to different planets? I don't understand what his motivation is.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
I think that maybe like it was supposed to be implied that he knew the basketball game was coming up, and maybe he like I just don't know how long ago it was that he sent them off, because it couldn't have been that long, because he came up with the idea. Yeah, no, there's no reason for him to have done it. What the fuck is going on with this
right.
movie?
I was about to say, and then if he did do that, there's a scene after the team's all back together where Sylvester hawks up Tweety, and Tweety goes, "What year is this?"
And then like there's also
Like,
been the period of time where
so
like Bugs has clearly been losing it like having a pumpkin pose as Porky. So he's clearly been
I
here
like
for a
that,
while. And then like I don't get Don Cheadle's character at all. Like I just like I get the whole thing of like, okay, he's meant to be like this learning program that's meant to be like doing this thing involving LeBron James. I almost mixed the two up.
King James.
Which I didn't like. I guess is that if that's a basketball thing, I don't know. Whatever.
I have no idea.
Like we don't watch basketball, folks. We are not going to know anything about this shit. We apologize. But to that end, I don't know what the fuck Don Cheadle's character is supposed to be like up to, because like the only thing he ever alludes to is that like the whole world will know who he is or some shit, but there's never anything really beyond that level. And it's just him just like it's shockingly obsessed with LeBron James specifically. And I really don't get it, because like he comes to that decision of like, but at the same time that's almost kind of brilliant, the fact that it's meant to be a learning algorithm or like a content algorithm of being like having it be like, why the fuck is this guy coming up with this really weird roundabout answer? It's like, oh, it's just like a YouTube algorithm. It's like,
Yeah.
honestly, that's the most realistic part of this whole thing. But beyond that, I truly don't get it.
His character's bad. It's not well thought out. Like I said in the plot, it's literally like he abducts this man's son and then brainwashes his son against the dad, and the dad has to. It's just fucking Hook. It's like, Hook with basketball and Looney Tunes.
And then like he just so happens like he didn't know that his son was a video game maker at this point, and so he came up with that idea of like implementing his game against LeBron until he already had kidnapped him. So it's like, wow, that's fucking convenient.
Yeah, that's true.
There's so much shit. That is my biggest point with the new legacy, and why I honestly, by comparison at the very least, think the original is actually pretty good, because it overcomplicates this shit to the next fucking level. I do not understand what the thought process was going into this of being like, we're going to have this whole thing of it's going to involve, like, because if you take this out of the context of it being a Space Jam movie, there's absolutely zero reason to involve the Looney Tunes. There's none whatsoever. No. Like, if he got tossed into this, like, oh, this, like, universe of, like, different movie properties, they could have picked up on other characters. And they joke about that being like, okay, yeah, LeBron's trying to get these, like, other, like, really badass characters. And that would have been an amazing, insane fucking movie if anyone had the balls to do it. But then it's clearly, like, Bugs has to sabotage it to only get the other Looney Tunes so he can have his friends back. And so, like, otherwise, there's absolutely no purpose to it. The original one, there is a purpose to it, because the entire plot is centered around the Looney Tunes. The Looney Tunes are the central premise. They're the whole reason, like, Michael Jordan gets pulled into their universe in the first place. It's insane.
And that's something, too. And I brought this up briefly last year, again, when I mentioned this on the podcast. But the Looney Tunes are ushered into this algae rhythm, deliberately sends LeBron James to the Toon World, calling them the losers. And I don't understand that. So, I mean, like, the Looney Tunes aren't as big as they used to be, obviously. They're not like, I mean, now they're getting the new Looney Tunes cartoons on HBO Max, which are fine. I have my own issues with them, but it's probably the best Looney Tunes thing we've gotten in years, to be honest.
Yeah.
But, like, that aside, would you call them losers when you have this entire other world of HBO properties out there? Later on, when we have the big orgy fuckfest that is the basketball game,
so that's one hell of a sentence.
There's Frankenstein Jr. and there's Peter Potamus, and I'm like, why didn't he send him to HBO, what the fuck?
Boomerang?
Hanna-Barbera Planet, where all the real losers live.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, go hang out with the Shmoo and that big fucking rock thing from the Herculoids. Now you're in a really dreary place. It's like, oh yeah, okay, I guess the Jetsons are better than Bugs Bunny. Okay.
Enlist sure. Grape Ape.
Grape Ape. Where was Grape Ape? I saw King Kong. I saw the Iron Giant. I didn't see Grape Ape.
Fucking bullshit, man. I And like, I know I'm spending so much time talking about the New Legacy one, but honestly, the first one is so inconsequential with a lot of the shit going on that it's like, it's near impossible by comparison to talk about it more. Cause like, it's so straightforward with its premise and also so bonkers with its premise that it's like, it basically says everything right there. The Looney Tunes enlist fucking, fucking Michael Jordan to teach them how to play basketball against aliens. And like, that's really it. It doesn't it doesn't do anything more than that. Like, it's so bizarrely simple and incomprehensibly weird in its decision making process that I don't know what the fuck I could say. I like the animation
And
style. I think it's actually very good. It looks like the Looney Tunes. And they're funny. They're like the Looney Tunes. Like, there are moments where they act like the actual fucking Looney Tunes compared to the new thing where it's meant to be this whole sappy thing of like ending with fucking Bugs Bunny acting as the Messiah. Like, what the hell?
oh, in a sense, he turns into Stardust.
What
But
was the fucking point of that scene? What was the fucking point? You know what? I'm gonna come back to it. I promise. What the fuck was the point of that scene? Of like the whole thing of like, oh, he's gonna die. No one in any audience ever was gonna look at that and be like, oh, Bugs Bunny's actually dead. No.
Bugs Bunny's gone.
I despise it to my core. Why did they not, like, if they had done it with like LeBron James doing it, then it would have been like, oh shit, this is crazy. And then it could have been some bullshit of like, oh, he gets brought back because he's now an honorary toon, so he can't get killed in this world. That would have been fun. That would have been like, okay, that's something. Instead of this bullshit take back of, no joke, literally fucking the Messiah shall not see the promised land. Like, I don't get it.
I would have enjoyed it if they just kept to it. They just kept with it. Yeah, Bugs Bunny's dead. He's not going to show up in any shows from now on. Bugs Bunny is dead.
That, I mean, I would have given it so much fucking respect. Because, like, screw it. Like, this whole thing, because the entire existence of this remake is not off of any kind of, like, genuine desire of being like, oh, this story was left unfinished, or, oh, this universe or premise deserves to be explored more. It didn't. Like, I'm just going to say it didn't. It came back because people were shockingly nostalgic about the original. And, like, fine, it's okay. It did not need this. Like, that is the only reason it got remade. And so, like, if they had done something so balls to the wall as Bugs Bunny is actually canonically dead, and now we have to integrate the New Legacy into the Warner Brothers canon, which is, I can only imagine a literal cannon filled with spit and feces. Because like
now you're talking like the first Space Jam.
I mean, I guess, but like, I don't know. I'm so like unreasonably pissed off, and I've gotten to your level of this because I fully understand why you're so angry about all of it. It's just like, I can't even, because this is the nitpicky bullshit thing. Like, obviously, like, yeah, it's stupid, it's silly, but that is one of those things where it's like, it makes it unbearable to watch of like, why did they do this? Oh.
I have one last I have one last point specifically because, like I said, I have a couple big points for the new one. You have a bunch of nitpicky ones. I have big ones. They are the voice cast, the plot, and then some other story related points that I'm about to bring up. And that specifically is the use of the Looney Tunes. I know we mentioned art styles, which I won't go into too much. I think the worst, in my opinion, the worst part about the new one is just the really bland, unstylized use of CG that's completely unnecessary. Like, It's not needed. I actually prefer the 2D animation in the new Space Jam compared to the old one. I think they went too ham on shadows, trying to make it look like Roger Rabbit, and I don't think it worked very well. I don't think it's horrible, but I think it's done a bit better in the new one, but that's a personal preference.
Yeah, I just think it's just an assault on the CGI eyes.
They fucking wreck it. That's fair. That's fair too. But the big point, so that we actually finally talk about the original Space Jam a little bit, is I think a big plus for the original Space Jam, one is the soundtrack, and then two, is it feels like it's actually utilizing the Looney Tunes. The new one is so concerned about other Warner Brothers properties that a lot of the Looney Tunes stuff gets shuffled to the wayside. You got your heavy hitters. Bugs and Daffy are there. Elmer Fudd is around cackling it up. Yosemite Sam's kinda there. But like Marvin the Martian gets fucked. Like he's not that present in the original either, to be fair. But I think he gets screwed in both cases, but worse in the new one because
the original one at least
treat him like shit.
The original one, he at least was just like a recurring character of like, oh, he's here, he has a few funny moments. Whereas the other one, he's like, he has agency and his existence allows the plot to continue, but then they just shit on him.
And that's the thing. That's I guess my big problem, because the original is just the Looney Tunes all live in this world and they have town halls, and I guess Bugs Bunny is the mayor or God or something to them. And I mean, it's like, all wouldn't he? I mean, he would be in any case there. Oh yeah, they proved that in the new one. But like, it's not just the core cast. Witch Hazel is there on the bench with Granny. Beaky Buzzard apparently plays the game at some point because we see him in like a mummy wrap on the bench. Little Sneezer shows up. Birdie and Hubie, which didn't have a lot of cartoons. I think Birdie is the announcer of the game. Like, they actually are using a lot of these characters, and in the new one, it's just this basketball team. Marvin gets fucked, and the rest of, like, we see more Hanna-Barbera characters in the movie than we do Looney Tunes characters, because Algae Rhythm shows up and he's like, everyone get on this space ark and go explore the cosmos. And in honestly, one of my favorite scenes in the movie, just because it's one of those you can pause it when you're watching it at home things. It's this long line of Looney Tunes characters marching into this rocket. I specifically like Witch Hazel because I think she has my favorite walk cycle of all the Looney Tunes.
It's a very specific thing.
Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know Witch Hazel, her top half of her body, it's like when you grab a chicken and you rotate it and the head stays in place. Her top half just stays in place, and then her legs like seesaw back and forth, and she moves forward. And they actually captured that pretty well in that little scene of them going to the rocket. But anyways, like, we don't ever see those characters again. Bugs Bunny makes this whole fucking deal about family. Like, I miss my friends. We're a family, Doc. And where's Pete Puma? You know, he doesn't grab Pete Puma and bring him back. Where's Rocky and Muggsy? Witch Hazel is probably... She got Avada Kedavra cast on her in the Harry Potter universe, and she's fucking dead. Like, she's not coming back.
She's playing Bellatrix Lestrange or something.
Yes, that's her new role, and they just left her there. Like, there's no camaraderie. And you could say, oh, Pete Puma, Rocky, Muggsy, those are all, like, villain characters. Well, then why Elmer Fudd, Yosemite Sam, Gossamer? Bugs Bunny has never related to Gossamer in any degree because he's just a big fucking monster. But he's a part of the family. Like, I don't understand why the Looney Tunes get shafted so hard.
Don't you see, dude? It's not that they're family. It's that they're marketable.
Yes, you could put Gossamer on a t-shirt. You could put Roadrunner on a lunchbox. Yeah.
You can put fucking Taz on anything, because then people are like, whoa, I'm so zany or whatever the fuck. And I'm like, please kill me. And
this new movie would have you believe that Granny is one of the most merchandisable characters out there. Like,
I remember you brought that up before when you first saw it, of like how Granny is apparently the literal, like, chosen one. She literally becomes the one from the Matrix, essentially. But like, even in that scene that she reenacts in that, she's not playing Neo, she's playing Trinity. That's not, so she's not the one. Like, they did that line in the New Legacy, and it's like objectively incorrect. It's like, no, that wasn't the character she was playing. And I really don't get it. Like, I know a lot of people, I think, have gotten kind of come around to the point of like Granny's kind of fun, and like everyone kind of comes to this point of like, oh yeah, Granny's the only one who like any sense in the universe, but also not. And I don't know.
Fun thing, like Granny is a fun character, and she is a very funny character, like in her specific style. And this has nothing, like, June Foray's been dead for a couple years, and Candy Milo has been Granny since then. I still can't really get behind the voice, but it's not her fault. You know, someone died like It's not just a regular recasting. I'll just have to get used to it.
Yeah.
But that's not the character. The Granny in the new movies is not Granny. Granny is not this fucking haul-ass Lollapalooza grandma with a big plump ass that like drinks martinis and says haters gonna hate. That's not Granny. That's like a completely different character. I don't know who that is, but it's not Granny.
Yeah.
And that is also a problem I have.
Which, like, I feel like they tried to do that with a few things. Like, I feel like they worried that they were maybe giving Grandma the shaft, which is a sentence I really never want to say again. But that, like, so they kind of like overcorrected with it. I think also to that end, they kind of did that with Lola, which, like, the original one and in this one, we can say it, she's a Mary Sue. She's a Mary Sue type character in the first one, she's just meant to be eye candy, and the only way to justify it is to make her the only unapologetically good basketball player of the Toons, and just for no reason other than we needed something to look at. And then obviously, as it being the furry in the room, very much definitely encouraged a lot of not great fan made content for the next several decades. And
got that right.
As a result, Warner Brothers went into this and were like, oh, we need to have this character come back, but my God, is this a minefield? And so they kind of just like decided, okay, we're just not going to make her like that this time, which like on its own is admirable. I'm glad they did that. We didn't need to bring back the original one, because I remember when she first came on screen in the original, like, and having rewatching it and being like, wow, I'm uncomfortable. This is weird, and I cannot believe anyone was ever okay with this. But then kind of coming into it with the new one, and it's just like, she is even more of a Mary Sue, to the point of she is literally being like called a cool person by fucking Wonder Woman, and being initiated as an honorary Amazon, and like, what the fuck?
Like, Rosario Dawson as Wonder Woman says that Lola is the chosen. Wait, no, different character. That she is cool.
And Amazon, just one. Which, like, that's fair. The whole point of the Amazons is like each Amazon. Which is, I guess, the point of the Amazon. Like, each one individually could be their own chosen one, and that's how unapologetically badass they are. But like, to that end, it makes Lola like this super overpowered character, and like to the point of like she kind of just seems pointless. It's like, I know we needed her again. You couldn't have had this movie without her. But like, the fuck? They could have like, I wish they had done the thing they had done in one of the more recent cartoon series of it, where they basically just made her insane. Where it's just like, she's just like this
Looney Tunes show.
Yeah, like I wish they had just done that, where it was just like, oh, like she's still a sporty person, but she is just kind of a manic depressive, which is like, okay, fine, that's character.
And a creepy stalker, like so.
That'd be hilarious to see in this.
The 2011, the Looney Tunes show, I really like. A number of people like it. I think it's only just now getting the attention that it needed now. Again, it has its problems. It doesn't really feel like the Looney Tunes. It's just characters in a new situation, but I like it. And they did the service. The problem with Lola in the echelon of Looney Tunes characters is that she's not funny. And it's not even like looking at a character like Egghead or something and being like, oh, well, that character's not funny. At least they're trying to be. Like, Lola was not created to be funny in a world of comedy characters. And the Looney Tunes show fixed that by, giving her more of a personality and making her humorous. And then, we're back to, well, now she's not just a sex icon. She's like an overpowered girl boss. It's like, yeah, but she's still not funny. Yeah. I don't care what Lola does. She's not funny. They don't let her be loony and joke around. She doesn't get to participate in all the Looney Tunes hijinks in either of the basketball scenes in the new movie.
Yeah, and like also...
And that's just a problem with the character overall.
And like also, like they try to have this whole thing of like, we're meant to feel like inspired for her because she like has this like moral dilemma of, does she complete this Amazon trial or does she stay for Friends? And her saving the Friends still means she qualifies to become an Amazon. I'm just sitting there like, okay, who the fuck cares? Why the fuck am I watching this? Why is this being dedicated to this amount of time? Like, she's not going to be a main character throughout this. We all know that. She's not going to do jack shit. She's going to be there to fill out the team and to be like an actual like competent person and to still be sort of eye candy in a way that like in a, like just a different way. And I like why do we need this? This is pointless. I cannot understand the decision making they went into this whole thing of like this whole idea of like the whole movie. It's the whole thing is just the concept of having your cake and eating it too. Like the whole thing with like the fake out Bugs Bunny death and like with Lola being like, oh, we're going to have like these really deep touching moments, but it's still going to be pointless to this whole overall thing. It's like there we get to have our brownie points of making a girl boss character. It's like, I don't get it. Like that's really is just like the whole, that is my phrase over this whole movie. I don't get it. I just don't.
So in the sake of fairness, there are a couple of points that I want to give to the new Looney Tunes. Or not the new Looney Tunes, the new Space Jam. Over the old one. The Looney Tunes world specifically in the serververse, much better, much more interesting than Looney Tunes Town in the original. It's literally like 2 buildings. It's a gym and a town hall, and that's it. And a lot of it is so flat and boring, you can hardly believe that zany adventures are apparently supposed to take place there. The cool thing about Looney Tunes Planet or whatever is you get to see, the theater where Michigan J. Frog performs. There's sort of the overlooking desert and chasm where supposedly Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner have their adventures. And that first shot when LeBron when he first climbs out of that dumbass Nike hole.
I will admit, when I saw that, I gave that one a mild chuckle. Like, okay, that's silly.
It frustrated me because I'm like, oh, really? We're getting a commercial inside a commercial inside. Okay.
It's like, I knew that going into this is like, fucking, this whole thing's a fucking commercial. I need to get past that. Otherwise I'm going to want to break down.
That's fair. But one of the coolest things is that, What's Opera Doc? Not a funny cartoon. It's really not that funny. I don't get why people put it on all these lists outside of the fact that like Chuck Jones is at least a good, competent director, even if he was a little up his own ass. But the structures from the cartoon, you can see those off to the side in Looney Tunes world, like the big structure that Elmer Fudd climbs while he's singing the Ride of the Valkyries melody. I'm like, it's cool to see stuff like that, and I think that a lot more care went into that than it did the world in the original, I should say. And the other point I want to make, Daffy, this is a personal preference. I already talked about the voices. I prefer Bows's. I mean, overall, I think Jeff Bergman is the best person who's currently alive that can do Daffy Duck now that Joe Lasky's dead. But Eric Bows's Daffy, I think, is better than D. Bradley Baker's. But besides that, just the characterization of him I like more in the new one. In both cases, he's not really goofy or zany. He's a bit goofier in the old one, but they're sort of relying on that Chuck Jones. He's a greedy, egotistical bastard who wants everything to go his way. But in the new one, you can hear him muttering to himself, like while other people are talking. Okay. For people that haven't seen this, I didn't call it out in the synopsis, but as opposed to the first one, Daffy is not actually on the team. Like, he doesn't play basketball. He's like the pseudo coach. And I think that's a much funnier role for Daffy to have, is to be the person that's trying to call the shots even though no one listens to him. And probably my favorite scene in the movie. It's already kind of funny because Sylvester says he found Michael Jordan during halftime, and it turns out it's Michael B. Jordan, which that's funny. It is funny.
Even the name itself, it's literally he's like the B. It's like, oh well then, B list.
And Elmer Fudd said, "How could you think this was his anus?" Which is a strange thing to hear Elmer Fudd say.
Yeah.
But then while everyone is chastising Sylvester, you can see Daffy writing on his clipboard off in the corner, and he's writing down, "Wrong Jordan, trade Sylvester." I don't know. I think that's funny. I think they do Daffy right in the new movie. Um,
they did him very correctly.
except for the scene where he goes, "Well, that happened," because that's a dumb Joss Whedon dialogue that we need to erase from all movies. At this point, even myself, we've made our preferences clearly known. It's
Yep.
just like you were saying earlier, we didn't talk a lot about the original Space Jam, so I'm just trying to fit in stuff like they both did CG, and it's really bland in the new one. But to be fair, it's really ugly in the original one. I'm trying to be
Still,
fair across the board.
I'll still take bland over. I mean, sorry, I'll still take ugly over bland because like all of the shit was also ugly in the new one because like they did the weird like animal morphs with like other like basketball like real world basketball players, and it's just
Okay,
like
that was bad.
this is horrifying. Like, I want to stop watching this. Like the whole like I get the whole thing. It's like meant to be jokes about like their like these like their player nicknames and everything. But like the vulture guy with like the eyebrow thing, I'm like, this is one of the most disconcerting things I'm ever watching. And then the clockwork guy, like the time travel guy, I didn't know what the fuck was Chronos. Like I saw that, I was like, I don't like this at all. There are a lot of things in my life where I'm like, this has benefits, this has drawbacks. There is generally a larger amount of one than the other. This one, I truly looked at it. I was like, I cannot find a single reason for me to enjoy this. This is bad. This is a bad thing that has been made by a human being, and I hope they get slapped for it. Nothing bad, just nothing good for them either. I just hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
And the last thing, literally the last thing I have on my mind that I also want to bring up is it's 100% it's not intentional, but the original Space Jam has a bit of weird baggage associated with it at this point, or at least it's surprising that it doesn't, I guess, as much as people talk about it. But in the new movie, it's all about, these characters are going to get erased or removed from existence, and everyone in reality is going to be trapped in the serververse for some reason. I don't know how Algae benefits from that. But
yeah, and I don't fucking again, Algae. The whole character of Don Cheadle is just like, what the fuck.
But it is much more simplified in the new Space Jam, in that the concept is everyone is going to be slaves. Which is odd. I don't think the Looney Tunes should really be talking about slavery.
They especially shouldn't be having a simplified cartoon version of fucking Michael Jordan in literal chains in like the style
to a desk.
In the style of like Harlem Renaissance artists that like painted those sort of frescoes of real world slavery. Where it's like, wow, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Again, not intentional, and obviously Michael Jordan agreed to the movie or whatever, else he wouldn't have done it. But that is very strange, especially in today's climate.
It is admittedly a cool looking shot. It is a cool looking shot, admittedly. Great. Yeah, like they did it respectfully, but at the same time, it's still weird.
And I just don't, I understand like Bugs Bunny in blackface or whatever, those 13 cartoons that are coal black and the 7 dwarfs, those shorts that you can't watch well, you can watch them, but you couldn't watch for a while. Like they have history with that, but Looney Tunes should not be talking about this topic. Like at one point they're in the locker room during halftime and Elmer Fudd literally goes, "We're gonna be slaves." I'm like, okay, well, Elmer should not be worrying about slavery or thinking about slavery in any capacity.
Yeah.
It does not feel, it doesn't feel right. And you know what? We have talked so much about all the plot inconsistencies in the new one. I'm going to bring up one for the original. I don't understand why Swackhammer wants... Both of these villains suck. The only good thing about Swackhammer is that the voice performance that Danny DeVito does is good. But as a villain, he's horrible. Like, he doesn't know what he wants. He's like this really... He's so inconsistent. All of a sudden, he sees Michael Jordan. He doesn't know that he's a basketball star, but now he wants him to be enslaved in his amusement park to sign autographs and play. Like, do the aliens know who Michael Jordan is? Like, do they give a shit about
No,
basketball?
I
Like, I
I don't know, man. I just like that. I said that through a fucking yawn as well, of just being like, honestly, at this point, who gives a shit? Like they needed a reason for there to be like upper stakes, and also like to kind of bring in the plot hole of like, oh yeah, they did straight up steal these basketball players' abilities. Which also, side note, we didn't really bring it up a whole bunch. There's a lot of like really weird like slice of lifestyle things of these like real world at the time very hot like ticket basketball players having to deal with their this existential crisis that they're
actually
all
kind of
now
like
on.
that.
I was gonna say, yeah, I honestly love it. Like it's
I
very
like
funny.
those
Like
more than the Looney Tunes bits.
because like it felt like the one they had the real world players kind of briefly show up in the new one. Like it seemed like they were kind of more begrudging to be there. But all the bits of the original ones, they all seem to be having a lot of fun with it. They're actually all really funny. It's like these are like genuinely hilarious guys. Like I love this.
All of the basketball play, they're not like Laurence Olivier or anything, but all the
No.
basketball players in the original do a pretty good job for what they are, except for Larry Bird. My God, he has to be the worst actor I have ever seen.
I mean, it's
He
Larry
is so
Bird.
wooden. Like,
It's I mean, come on. Like I feel like we shouldn't have expected anything.
the only reason those scenes don't stand out is because he's always up with Bill Murray, who is saying like actual funny shit. Like I like after Michael Jordan gets pulled into the hole, they wait for a while Wayne Knight's digging a hole, and then Larry Bird and Bill Murray go back to the golf cart, and Bill Murray just goes, I'm gonna give us both twos on that one because I don't really think we were in the emotional state to putt. I don't know. That's a
Like
funny line.
yeah,
Like,
that's like the only way to have Larry Bird on screen is to balance it out with what is easily at all times the funniest person on screen. It's
yeah, the
like
saving
in any
grace.
context. Yeah. Which like I really do keep forgetting, like, oh yeah, Bill Murray is just in this. It's like,
Da, da, da,
okay.
da, 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 da. Yeah, uh, he's friends with the producer.
I did love that. Like I was just like, oh, like honestly, I because like there is no situation like it's one of those jokes that I've heard before of there is no situation if you see Jack Black present it wouldn't be surprising. The same is true of Bill Murray. If you see him in any context, he just seems like he fits. It's like okay, Bill Murray's
Oh,
here and
wasn't
he
there
will,
that?
and he's having a genuine interaction with Daffy Duck, and it's not even that big of a deal. It's not cringy or anything. It's just like okay, hey, what's up? It's like okay, cool. Hi, Mr. Murray.
It's weird, but it's actually oddly funny. They frame the movie. They frame it as if like nobody in the movie knows who the Looney Tunes are. Like Michael Jordan barely reacts to them. Wayne Knight doesn't seem to know the characters, and when Bill Murray shows up, the only character he addresses by name is Daffy. He calls Bugs Bunny Boy Bunny. It's very strange, but that adds some humor to it too. I
I'm
think.
willing to bet dollars to donuts that Daffy and Bill Murray just actually hang out, like in this universe, where they're just like, no, these guys actually know each other. Because like even Daffy, maybe not like on a personal basis, because like Daffy referred to him as Mr. Murray, but like they've interacted before. Like, oh, hi,
Yeah, do you remember that High C commercial we did? Oh yeah,
yeah. It's
that
like
was certainly.
we're obviously rambling for time at this point, and I apologize for that,
Oh
people. But honestly, that was funny, and I
yeah, I'm.
think there's a
Give
lot
me
of
more.
saving grace. I think there's a lot of saving graces in the first one that allow me to like it more. And I think like every opportunity the new one had to piss me off, it took. Like every single time. There's bad CG, there's bad acting, there's cringy dialogue, there's all these things of like LeBron being like, "Oh my god, you're Bugs Bunny. Oh, Bugs Bunny's big friends with." Like, so shut the fuck up. Just fucking act. Um, and it just kind of kept going like that, and I just wanted it to stop. Like at 30 minutes in, I was like, I need this to be over. And that is never a good sign. And there are bits and pieces that I do like. I do agree with you to a point of like, I thought the Looney Tunes world was better. I thought like they took more time to like actually have them kind of be fleshed out a bit better, but not by much. And like they had a lot of scenes of other fleshing out, like having an entire scene for Lola that was completely inconsequential. I just yeah. Well, I don't get it. I don't get it.
I tried. So obviously, I watched the new one last year, and I'm not rambling for time. I'm just rambling, but we'll wrap it up here
You know
soon.
what? Yeah, that's fair. I shouldn't say rambling for
But
time. I'm rambling.
but so obviously, I watched it last year. I didn't rewatch it. I didn't rewatch the new one until today, like this earlier today while I was working.
Yeah.
I forgot how much it like sucked the wind out of my sails. Like, oh man, this is so just not it. Because like before that, I was prepping for the discussion on the movie, like just to get all this stuff. I got interesting facts, some trivia, like when all they go to all the different worlds and they pull all the Looney Tunes in. Like Gossamer shows up on the team, but they never show what world they pull him from. Well, he was supposed to be one of the monsters chasing the Scooby-Doo gang. And I'm like, oh, well, that could have been interesting. At least that's like a cartoon.
And it would have made sense.
And stuff like that. Yeah, like what makes more sense? Gossamer chasing around the mystery gang, or Foghorn Leghorn shouting "Winners!" I say "Winners coming" on a giant dragon. Which one of those fits?
I honestly completely forgot about that, and like that opens up so many goddamn questions of like, why did he
usurp that role? Like,
is she really
dead?
Like, did he specifically want to play Daenerys? Like, I feel like I've learned more about Foghorn Leghorn as a character, not as a character even, as a person, more in this movie than I have ever in any other context. And that is the biggest takeaway I have from this movie. That's it. It's that Foghorn Leghorn really wanted to play Daenerys. I think. That would have been Daenerys.
I think that's the case.
But even though that line isn't a Daenerys, I'm gonna show my hand of having watched any amount of Game of Thrones, and that's a pointless endeavor. But like, there are so many moments in this new movie that's just like, what the hell? I need to explore this more, and they don't do it. They do all the ones that I want to explore, not at all. This is a weird fucking couple of movies.
Yeah, what do you want? What do you want from us, guys?
Like,
you know what?
Start as we mean to go on, I guess. Jesus Christ.
It's okay, and I was excited to do this too, because this is the first time we've done an episode with a movie that's come out so recently, since the Dune episode failed, or since we didn't get to do it, and so there's that, and I'm sick of Space Jam nostalgia, because the movie is not good. But
really not.
It looks good when you compare it to this new one. It can't help but look better, which is only going to fuel the fire, which I hate, because I don't know. Again, I have issues with them, but go watch the new Looney Tunes cartoons on HBO Max, or sometimes they air on Cartoon Network. Those are actually decent Looney Tunes material. Like Space Jam sucks ass. Back in Action is only slightly better, and that's just because Joe Dante gave a shit. There's not a lot of good Looney Tunes stuff out there outside of the original run, and that's not just nostalgia talking, it's people not understanding the characters or giving them an animation budget to work with.
Yeah. I really like Wile E, though. Wile's fun. He's simple. That's about it.
He's an easy character.
Yeah. Fuck's sake. The pick for next week is mine, and next episode is mine, and it's distinctly as far opposite in the direction as you could get from this. And
it's not very loony, that's for sure.
Part of me is almost hesitant to make that my option, because it's I feel like this is just setting an energy going forward of oh God. And I feel like switching so hard might count as whiplash. But you know what? Fuck it. We have never had a theming consistency with this show, and I have zero problem with that. I have only a desire to watch something of actual quality the next time around, and you know what? That's what we're going to do. It's going to be weird, but it's quality.
The only thing we try not to do is 2 Westerns in a row, 2 sci-fis in a row. We'll try to mix it up a bit like that, but besides that, we don't really care.
I think we also only ever try to do 1 big Disney one a year.
Yeah, one one Disney animated to live action remake.
And then, like, I think, well, yeah, no, I think that's been every single time. Huh.
Yeah, because last year we did The Parent Trap and we did 101
101
Dalmatians.
Yeah.
Yeah. But hey, no, this movie, rewatching both of these movies, especially the new one, I have my entire schedule. What?
We didn't do Parent
Trap.
No,
not The Parent Trap. Freaky Friday.
That's it. But also that wasn't animated.
See how easy it is for me to... No, I know it wasn't animated. That I'm saying we did 2 Disney ones, but only one of them was... We do one animated to live action a year, I think. But
just goes to show how like interchangeable a lot of those like B-lister movies are.
Dude, the 70s were not good for Disney. I'll tell you that much.
God. Fucking the whole Epcot fiasco. Oh my God.
But like, I have my entire schedule planned out for the year. I haven't shared it with Stu necessarily because he doesn't need me to like list all 8 movie episodes I'm planning on doing this year. But I had another one for Halloween planned that was like, oh, these 2 are bad, but they might be funny bad. This one put me in such a mood that I immediately changed it to something I know that's good. So all of my picks for the rest of the year, I either know are good or they're rumored to be good because I was so upset.
Okay, cool. That's like, I gotta say, like, I kind of like, there were a lot of those last year where it was just like, and I wasn't free of them myself, obviously, but
yeah, well,
like there were a lot of them.
On a lot of them where I didn't know that they were going to be like as bad as they were.
Yeah, like a lot of them, it's just like it went from like, oh, this is a beloved classic to this is just the most absurd level trollop. Like obviously, Easy Rider is the go-to one, which I think will be it till the end of time. Before that, it was The Secret of Nim. But now, like Easy Rider, I still like. It still feels like a fever dream whenever I think back on that remake or like the sequel thing, because like it's one of those things like when you have a dream and it has enough things that you recognize that you know that there's some consistent logic going on, but you know it's so of essence indistinguishably different from the original that there's no way they were actually related.
Yeah.
That is what it was. It was a fever dream of a movie.
We'll aspire to not have another 2021 on the show. At least I'm gonna try not to. Like I said,
or at the very least,
picks this year I haven't seen, but they're rumored to be good.
At the very least, if we do one that's so intrinsically bad, we're gonna make sure that its original or remake is also just as bad.
Yes, yeah.
That way, it's just a fun time for everyone. Of like, let's do like a deep dive analysis of this absolute shit, like 2 Christian movies or something.
Oh, like God's Not Dead. Well, that something like that caliber.
I'm sure there's a remake out there of something.
Yeah. Well,
start as we mean to go on, folks. Welcome back to it.
Yeah.
God Almighty.
This is what you got. Oh, people are not going to be happy with this one. They're gonna go on. They remade it on Reddit. And, this is it. This is the episode that made me finally unsubscribe.
If we ever get a subreddit, I might take a finger off. Like, because I feel like if that happens, I feel like something has gone intrinsically wrong with my life.
I'll contact Reddit and ask them to take it down. That's all.
That's honestly a better option. Yeah, I'm a very impulsive person. My ADHD meds are wearing off at this point. So I'd say my energy has distinctly lulled, not least of which because of these films.
Yes, I understand, but I guess that's our final thoughts. They're both bad, but the new one is so bad that the old one pales in comparison.
Yeah. Yeah. Socials. Cool.
So go ahead and find us and subscribe to us on any of your favorite podcasting platforms. We're on things like Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spreaker, Podbay, Podomatic, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, YouTube, even all of those goodies. And go ahead and leave comments, reviews, likes, anything that you want to boost those ratings up. If you're really pissed at us, now's your chance because we still got that perfect rating on the iTunes store.
Hell yeah, baby, going
If you
strong.
want to destroy it.
Fucking rained your hellfire on it. Please don't. Actually, it's actually kind of pretty cool.
Yeah, it's
I mean, like,
nice.
if you have a complaint, yeah, fucking complain. That's fine. But at the same time, like, also, like, if you have a genuine harsh complaint about this little podcast, I ask you to seek the values in your life. They will bring you greater joy than we will ever be capable of.
Yes, exactly. And then send us that nasty message anyways to our email, theyremadeit at
Hell yeah.
gmail.com. Or, of course, episode suggestions we always love. In fact, the next episode we do, I believe, is an episode suggestion.
Yes, it
Um,
is.
so go ahead and send those our way if you have them. And besides that, at It Remade on Twitter, where we post. I think the first week of January into the second week was mostly upcoming movie posters that we had talked about in our end of year. But that's succinctly wrapped up, and we'll be returning to updates about when the podcast is going to go live, potential future episodes, movies, games that we've been watching and playing recently on the podcast, and little full circle diagrams that I like to put together. And that's about it, I think.
Yeah, I'd say so. I can't think of anything else we could say that hasn't been beaten to death like nothing else on this episode. My God, we have.
Yeah, good lord.
This is a rambling. We had all our energy built up after the holiday season, and now we get to you get to slowly listen to the balloon deflate over the course of the year.
Yeah. Oh no, I hope not.
I mean, like, we don't know what the year has ahead of us, so fucking, you know, by the time this releases, we might be in, lockdown round. I think we're on 18 or something.
If we get locked, no lockdowns until after Sonic 2.
Yep.
We
I will
must last
manifest that
until
shit.
then.
Like, my God, that is owed us.
Yeah, we deserve it at this point. We're entitled
Deserve to see Idris Elba as Knuckles. I still cannot believe the universe I live in where that exists. I cannot express my joy in words.
Me and a mutual friend, Nick, talked for 2 hours, nearly 2.5 hours, one day over the winter break, and all it was predicting Sonic 2 movie, what they were gonna do, what they took, and
We all gotta hang out again
I'm
sometime.
hyped.
I know I haven't chatted a whole bunch lately, but like just for that conversation alone, it's a
I'm
meeting of
looking forward to it.
it's truly a meeting of the minds.
Yes, all talking about Sonic.
Oh God. See, that's what this movie has done to us. We are desperately looking forward to the better parts of the year than having to remember that Space Jam exists. Oh God, we're gonna have to do the other Halloween movie too. Fuck.
What? The other Halloween? What do you mean?
Because like they're like, oh yeah, no, like because isn't there still going to be another Halloween movie like of like Halloween the series?
Yeah,
Isn't that coming
they're
out this year still?
how no, I think that's next year. Halloween
Oh,
ends.
thank God. Oh, thank God. Okay, cool. I just didn't want to have to worry about another one.
Oh, you didn't see Halloween Kills, did you?
No,
Okay.
but I
Well, then no
know
need to
we'll
worry
have
about
to.
Halloween Ends.
Good point. Fuck it. See you, folks. We ain't touching that shit again.
Yep.
Fuck me. I'm tired.
Me too. I'm exhausted and hungry and sick.
Welcome to 2022, folks. We will do our best. Oh, God. As always, I am your ever optimistic host, Stuart.
And I'm Wascally Jacob.
Every time I force you to do like some sort of like quick thing, you always find something that is equal parts incomprehensible and perfect.
Oh, I'm glad.
At least in my mind. I think also
at least you're in my corner.
Yeah. I'm Stuart. He's Jacob.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Yo, easy on the trousers, Steph. Easy, man.
Pardon me. Mr. Murray, something's really been bugging me.
Yeah?
Just how did you get here, anyway?
Producer's a friend of mine. Just had a Teamster come and drop me off, you know.
Uh-huh. Well, that's how it goes.